don't usually share stories online, but what happened to me a few years ago still keeps me awake some nights. Maybe writing it down will somehow make sense of it, though deep down, I know it never will. I was on a cross-country trip, driving from the Midwest to the East Coast. It was late October, that time of year when the wind feels colder, the nights stretch longer, and the roads seem emptier than usual. By the time I reached Pennsylvania, I was exhausted. My phone's GPS had already died, and I didn't want to risk sleeping in my car. So when I spotted a flickering neon sign for a motel off the highway, I pulled over without a second thought. The place looked like it hadn't been touched since the 1960s. Peeling paint, torn curtains in the windows, and that strange hollow quiet you only find in places that used to be alive. I parked and walked toward the office. Inside, the air smelled like stale coffee and mold. Behind the desk sat an old man. His skin was pale, almost wax-like, and when he slid the guest book toward me, his hands trembled slightly. "Cash only," he muttered. No small talk, no smile, just those two words. I paid him, signed my name, and felt something off. Behind him, a wooden board held all the room keys, each one neatly labeled, except for a single empty hook in the center. The tag was missing, and the space where a key should have hung was coated in dust, as if no one had touched it for years. He handed me the key to room 7, and as I turned to leave, I swear I heard him whisper under his breath, "Don't wander around." My room was at the very end of the lot. The door creaked open so loud it made my teeth clench. Inside, the carpet was damp, the air thick with the smell of mildew. A dusty old TV sat in the corner with dials instead of buttons, and the lamp by the bed flickered every few seconds. I tried to ignore it, told myself I just needed a few hours of sleep. I shut the door, drew the curtains tight, and lay down. That's when I heard it, at first faint, but clear enough to freeze me in place. A woman crying, not sobbing, not screaming, just a slow, broken kind of crying. It sounded like it was coming from behind the wall, right behind my bed. It went on for a few minutes, then stopped. I told myself it was the pipes, or maybe someone in the next room. But when I checked later, both rooms beside mine were empty. Around 2 a.m., I woke again. No crying this time, just footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps in the hallway outside my door. They passed by my room, then stopped. For a full minute, there was silence. Then the doorknob rattled, like someone was testing it. My heart was pounding so hard I thought whoever it was could hear it. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. Eventually, the footsteps started again, fading away down the hall. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone, dead of course, and decided I'd leave as soon as the sun came up. But sleep wouldn't come. And around 4 a.m. I heard it again. The crying. Only this time it wasn't coming from behind the wall. It was inside my room. I shot upright. The sound came from the corner, near the old TV. The screen flickered to life on its own, glowing gray with static. And for just a moment, I swear I saw a woman's face in that static. Hollow eyes, mouth open in a silent scream. I lunged for the lamp, but before I could touch it, the TV shut off. And then, silence. That was it. I couldn't stay another second. I grabbed my bag, ran out the door, and headed straight for my car. As I passed the office, I glanced inside. The old man was still sitting there behind the desk, staring at me. But the weird thing is, the desk lamp wasn't on. The entire office was dark, pitch black. Yet somehow, I could still see his face. I didn't stop driving until I reached a diner 2 towns away. The waitress must have noticed how pale I was because she asked if I was all right. I laughed nervously and told her about the motel. Her smile vanished instantly. "You didn't stay at the Red Hollow Motel, did you?" she asked. I nodded. She leaned closer and whispered, "That place burned down in the late 80s. The whole building went up in flames. They say a woman and her daughter were trapped in one of the rooms. No one's lived there since." My stomach dropped. I wanted to argue, tell her she was wrong. But she pulled out her phone and showed me an old newspaper clipping. The headline read, "Mother and child die in fire at Red Hollow Motel." And the photo was the same building I'd just left. The same neon sign. The same peeling paint. Except now, it was nothing but a burnt shell. I still don't know what I saw that night. But sometimes, When I'm driving down lonely highways, I catch myself looking for motel signs in the dark. And whenever I see one flickering in the distance, I almost hear it again, that slow, broken sound of a woman crying. This happened when I was just 9 years old. My family had moved into an old wooden house on the southeast edge of a small, forgotten town. The whole area had a strange atmosphere. Tall, ancient trees surrounding the yard, overgrown bushes, and a dampness in the air that felt like it was hiding some long-forgotten story. From the outside, the house looked fine. But after dark, the walls seemed to creak on their own. The neighbors told us the house had been built back in the 1940s and that several families had lived there and then left, suddenly. Why, exactly? No one ever gave a clear answer. The first night, I began to feel something was wrong. My bedroom window faced the backyard, where an old, broken wooden rocking chair sat abandoned. Around midnight, while everyone was asleep, I heard a soft sound, like someone slowly rocking that chair. I told myself it was just the wind, but that chair had never moved so hard before. The next night, it happened again. Only this time there was a pale, misty figure standing next to the chair. I couldn't see it clearly, but its shadow stretched through my window and into the room. My heart was pounding so hard I squeezed my eyes shut. When I looked outside in the morning, the chair was still there, but beneath it, deep footprints marked the soil. No one had been out there the night before. As the days passed, the strange occurrences grew. Whenever I walked down the corridor, I felt like someone was following just behind me. The stairs would creak as if another set of footsteps was climbing alongside mine. One evening, I was sitting alone in my room. The table lamp was on, and I was reading a book. Suddenly, the light flickered and went out. In the darkness, I actually felt like someone was slowly turning the pages of my book. I grabbed a flashlight, but there was no one there. Yet the page had definitely turned. The scariest moment came one night around 2 a.m. I woke up thinking someone was in my room. As my eyes adjusted, I saw my closet door was half open, and from inside came the sound of heavy breathing. I got out of bed, trembling, and slowly opened the door. Only my clothes hung there. I let out a shaky sigh of relief and was just about to close it when I felt it, a whisper right next to my ear. "Leave this place," I screamed and ran straight to my parents' room. When we all checked the closet, it looked completely normal. They dismissed it as a frightened child's imagination. But from that night on, until the day we left that house, I heard that same whisper every single night. A few months later, we found out an elderly woman had once lived in the house. She would spend long nights alone in that same rocking chair out back. Neighbors said she died sitting there. Maybe her spirit was still tied to that spot. Eventually, we moved out. But even years later, whenever I hear the faint creak of a rocking chair at night, I'm taken right back to that house and that pale figure in the yard. I've never told anyone this outside of my family because honestly, people just wouldn't believe me. But it happened when I was about 14 years old, in a small town in Ohio. We had just moved into an old 2-story house, the kind with wooden floors that creak under your feet and wallpaper that looks like it hasn't been touched in decades. The real estate agent told us it was built in the early 1900s, and yeah, it looked every bit that old. My parents loved the character of the place. I just found it unsettling. From the very first night, something felt off. At the end of the hallway on the first floor was a door that led down to the basement. Nothing unusual about that, except this door had 3 locks on it, 1 regular lock and 2 heavy sliding bolts. On the outside, it was as if someone hadn't been trying to keep people out of the basement, but to keep something in. When I asked my dad about it, he shrugged and said the previous owners must have been overly cautious. But even he didn't sound convinced. The first week went fine. We unpacked, settled in. But every night after midnight, I heard the same thing. Knock, knock, knock. Soft, rhythmic knocks from the basement door. At first I told myself it was the pipes or water in the walls. But the more I listened, the more I realized it wasn't random. It always came in threes, always in threes. One night I got the courage to stand in the hallway. Right on cue, I heard it again. Then the doorknob rattled, like someone was testing it from the other side. I told my mom. She laughed it off. "Old houses make noises," she said. My dad told me to stop watching scary movies. But then, it escalated. One evening I was downstairs alone, doing homework at the dining table. The basement door was in my line of sight. I tried to ignore it, but out of the corner of my eye I saw a shadow shift under the door, like someone's feet moving back and forth on the other side. I froze. Only one problem: there was no light down there. The basement was pitch black. A few days later I was home with my little sister. She was playing in the living room when I heard her snap, "Stop it! You're scaring me!" I went in and asked who she was talking to. She pointed toward the hallway. "The man by the basement door." My blood ran cold. I didn't see anyone there. I told her she was imagining things, but she stood her ground. "He said his name is Thomas. He wants to come upstairs." That night I begged my parents to open the basement, to just get it over with. I told them everything. They exchanged worried looks, and instead of unlocking it, my dad added a fourth lock. Weeks passed. The knocking never stopped. Sometimes it was so faint I thought I was dreaming. Sometimes it was loud enough to make the whole door shake. Then came the night I'll never forget. Around 3 a.m. I woke up to footsteps. Not in the hallway, in the basement. Heavy, dragging footsteps circling under my room. I pulled the covers over my head, but the sound didn't stop. And then, from below, a crash. So loud the whole house shook. My parents burst from the room thinking someone had broken in. We ran downstairs together. All 4 locks were still in place, but the wood of the door was splintered inward, like something had been trying to force its way out. The next morning my dad called the real estate agent and demanded an explanation. At first she refused to say anything. Then, under pressure, she finally told the truth. In the 1950s, a man named Thomas had lived in that house. He was mentally unstable and one night attacked his own family. Before the police could get him, they managed to trap him in the basement. But before help arrived, he set the place on fire. He died down there. Ever since then, no family had stayed in the house for long. Everyone complained of noises, shadows, and the feeling that someone was waiting just behind that basement door. We moved out within a month. My parents told people it was because the house needed too many repairs. But I know better. Even now, years later, I sometimes hear it in my dreams. Knock, knock, knock. 3 soft taps right outside my bedroom door.